Hello, everybody. This is Miss Eubank. All right, today we are going to talk about operations with rational expressions. And at the end of this video, you should be able to say you can multiply, divide, add, and subtract rational expressions. So let's get right down to it. So the first example is multiply. So we are going to multiply and then state the restrictions. Now, just like when we were simplifying rational expressions, we had to state our restrictions from the original problem, and that is the same when we are multiplying, dividing, adding, or subtracting. So our restrictions are going to be the number that x can be in the denominator in the original equation that makes the denominator 0. So in this case, our restrictions are going to be x cannot equal -2 or 1. And we do that by setting the denominator equal to 0 and solving for 1. So here, 5x plus 10 equals 0. Add 10 to the other side, divide by 5. So 10 cannot be -2. On this side, 2x minus 2 equals 0. Add the 2 to the other side, divide by 2. X cannot be 1. Okay, so now that we have our restrictions, let's multiply this through. The first thing I'm going to do is factor. So I'm going to factor out, let's change colors here. I'm going to factor out a 2 out of the numerator. So I'm left with x plus 1. And I'm going to factor out a 5 out of the denominator. So I'm left with x plus 2. Okay, keep that multiplication there. And then I have an x plus 2. And I'm going to factor out a 2 here too. So I'm left with x minus 1. Okay, now I can see that I have an x plus 2 in the numerator and an x plus 2 in the denominator. So like when we simplified and we took out an x plus 2 out of the numerator and denominator, x plus 2 over x plus 2 is just 1. So let me show you that if I lost you. So if I combine these together, x plus 1, x plus 2, and a2 x minus 1. Okay, so we're just multiplying here, okay? So the order doesn't matter. So if I take out an x plus 2 out of the numerator and the denominator, multiplied by 2 times x plus 1 over 5 times 2 times x minus 1. Okay, so this x plus 2 over x plus 2, that just becomes a 1. And when I simplify, so now I have 2 times x plus 1 over 5 times 2 is 10. And I'm left, I still keep the x minus 1. Okay, now I have this 2 and this 10 out front. Well, we can simplify that to x plus 1 over 5x minus 1. All right, we could also write it, like this, or we could write it as x plus 1 over 5x minus 5. Either answer is acceptable. So this is our final answer. Okay, not too bad. I actually think these are pretty fun. I don't know if you guys would agree. Okay, so let's divide now. So the first thing, just like when we're doing fractions, when we were in what, 5th grade, you guys did fractions, um, you want to multiply. So in order to multiply, we need to flip the second one. So we are going to set that equal to x plus 5 over x minus 8 times x minus 8 over x minus 5. So we just flipped the numerator and denominator and changed the division to multiplication, just like we would when we're dealing with fractions. Okay, now immediately I can see that we have an x minus 8 in the numerator and an x minus 8 in the denominator. So just like we did in the first example, I'm not going to go through the entire process again, but that's going to equal 1. So this is canceled, and that is canceled. So we are left with x plus 5 over x minus 5. Now we cannot simplify anymore, so this is our final answer. Now, our restrictions, we go back to the original problem. So our restriction is x cannot equal 5 or 8. And we are finished. All right, so let's try an adding one. Okay. So we all know that when we add fractions, we need a common denominator. So the first thing I'm going to do is multiply x minus 9 by x plus 1. Okay, and that is going to be our common denominator. X minus 9, x plus 1. Okay, so over here we have x times an x plus 1. Whatever you do the bottom, you do the top. And over here we have 2 times x minus 9. Okay, now to make things easier, I am going to FOIL the bottom and factor the top. So for the first one I have x squared plus x. You see this factoring stuff is not going away. So we need to know how to factor, we need to know how to distribute, multiply quantities together. Okay, so when I FOIL this, we're foiling, don't forget, we're going to have x squared minus 8x and minus 9. Okay, and then our next one is going to be 2x minus 18 over x squared minus 8x minus 9. Okay, so we're adding here. So we have common denominators, now we can add. So our denominator is going to be the same, x squared minus 8x minus 9. We're going to add. So we have an x squared over here. We do not have an x squared here, so x squared goes here. We have an x here, an x here, and an x term here. So 1x plus 2x gives us 3x. plus 3x. And we have a negative 18 here and no other constant. So we are going to bring that over here, negative 18. Okay, so that is our final answer. To check it, I would make sure that you factor this again to make sure that there aren't any factors that you can cancel out. But otherwise, this would be your final answer. Okay, and then our restrictions are going to be x cannot equal 9 or negative 1. See, this stuff is not too bad at all. And the last one is a subtraction. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is factor this denominator. So we have a 3x squared minus 9 over x plus 3 and x plus 3 minus x minus 3 over x plus 3. Okay, so now I see I already have an x plus 3 over here, so we just need to multiply another x plus 3. So we're going to keep this the same, 3x squared minus 9 over x plus 3, x plus 3 minus, we're going to have an x minus 3 times an x plus 3 and an x plus 3 and an x plus 3 on the denominator. So now we have common denominators. We can subtract now. So actually, before I subtract, I'm going to FOIL the top or the numerator. So when I FOIL this, I get x squared minus 9. Okay, so that's going to help us out when we are subtracting. So I know that my denominator is going to be x plus 3, x plus 3. Okay, so I have a 3x squared and an x squared. So 3x squared minus x squared, that's going to give me a 2x squared. 2x squared. And a negative 9 minus a negative 9, that'll give me 0. So 2x squared is my only term in the numerator, and that is my final answer. Whoops. Okay, and my restrictions are x cannot equal negative 3. And that is it. So I will see you guys in class.